So when we're adding and subtracting a polynomial is just a big word for an expression, right? No equal sign, lots of things going on there. When we see that, we are just gonna collect like terms. We are collecting like terms. We'll talk about that word polynomial some more in a minute. So if you would just have a whole bunch of like things that are being added or subtracted together, right, in an expression, so no equal sign, then we're just gonna put the things that match together. That's what they're saying there. So we have, when we say collecting like terms, terms are the parts of an expression that are separated by a plus or a minus sign, okay? And when we look at that, we'll talk about circling them if that helps. We have a little example here. How many terms are in 5x plus 3 minus 7y? Circle the terms. So again, think about what we just said. The parts are separated by a plus and a minus sign. So we've got 5x. What else do we have?
7y.
What kind of 7y?
A negative.
Yes, good job. A negative 7y. And what else do we have? We have this, a positive 3. So how many terms are in this one?
3.
We have 3 terms. Okay, so we're just looking at the individual pieces. Those are called terms. If we only have one term, so for example, if I just said, 5x, or I said, negative 8, those would be just one term. Okay, so that's what a monomial is. A binomial is going to have 2 terms, so we could say, maybe we put those together, right? 5x minus 8, right? Now we have 2 terms. Okay. The one we just looked at, that's a trinomial. That one has 3 terms. Okay, tri meaning 3. That going back to that word polynomial just means many terms. So if it has more than 3, then it's going to be a polynomial. So like terms have exactly the same. Do we know what a variable is? Variables are just this, you probably heard them called letters, right? Letters and exponents. An exponent is that little tiny number. Sometimes we don't have any exponents, sometimes we don't have any letters. So terms without a variable are called constants. So like the negative 8 in the monomial, or that plus 3 that we had before. And the sign in front of the variable, I'm sorry, not the variable. We call this the coefficient, the number. So the sign in front of the coefficient goes with it. So like we had up here earlier, the negative 7y. Okay, it's not a 7y because there's a minus in front of it. That minus is going with it. Answers are written from highest to lowest degree, meaning the exponent. Now, I'm not going to stress over this too much. If you can put all of the things together that you need to, we're probably good. So things I want you to keep in mind, right? If you have a number in front of a letter, that is called the coefficient. What's a letter called? Do you remember? A variable. Good. And then this 17, which happens to be a positive 17, it doesn't have a letter. So what is that called? Do you remember what it said? A constant. Very nice. And if I was to classify this, how many terms does this have? 2. So it's called a binomial. Very nice. Let's simplify these. And there's a couple of ways to do this, okay? I want you to realize first there is a 1. Always, whatever sign is in front of the parentheses, if there's no number, there's a 1 there, okay? Whether it's a plus or a minus, okay? Really, this is saying you're going to distribute or multiply this 1 on everything inside. Okay, do you remember distributing, hopefully, from 8th grade or 7th grade or 6th grade? But really, when we multiply a 1 times anything, does it change? No. So if there's a plus sign here, we really don't need to worry about that distributing thing. You can do it if you really want to, but not necessary. What we can do, though, is we can collect like terms. So we're looking for same variable, same exponent, or constants. Now, you can do this a couple of ways. Everybody learns a little differently. Some people learned you could use like shapes. So these are both x squareds. I can circle both of them. Then I have, these are both x's. Maybe I put a box around them. Now I do want you to make sure you put your box or your circle or whatever shape you're using. You have to include the sign in front of the number. Super, super important. Because that's not just a 3x, it's a negative 3x. And that's very, very different. And then here we have some constants. We have a positive 7 and a negative 11. So if you are okay with it staying in a line like that, and then you're like, okay, I'm going to put the circles together, I'm going to put the squares together, and put the lines together, that's fine. Another way that you could do this, and it just depends on what works best for you, is you can write them vertically, kind of like in elementary school. So I know that my 3x squared is going with my 4x. So I'm going to put those vertically together. So I can see, okay, up and down, these match. And I can say, okay, I have a positive 6x matches my negative 3x. And I have a negative 11 matches my positive 7. So whichever method works best for you, by all means do that, okay? So now, whichever way you want to do it, how many x squares do we have? 4 plus 3 is 7x squares. We're not changing the variable or the exponent, okay? Because when we're just putting them together. Now be careful here. Negative 3x and positive 6x. What do we get there? Positive 3. And we need to make sure we put that plus in front of it. We got to have a sign that connects everything. And then 7 minus 11, or a positive 7 and a negative 11, is a negative 4. And now we only have one of each letter, so we're finished. So what's different about this one? Look at that sign in between the parentheses. What's different? It's a negative. So now we do have to do something with that one. Okay, this is a negative 1. What happens when I multiply by a negative? What happens to your sign? Does it stay the same or does it change? It's going to change, right? So a negative 1 times a positive 2a is what? Negative times a positive is a negative. What about a negative times a negative? It's a positive. And 1 times 4 is just 4. Make sure you put that letter with it. And a negative times a negative is a positive. So now my parentheses is gone. I have distributed or multiplied by that negative. My parentheses is gone. So now I can put things together. Okay, and again, you can use your circles, you can use your squares if you just want to line them up, right? I can say, okay, I have 8a and a negative 2a. I have a positive 11b and a positive 4b. I have a positive 3 and I have a positive 16. So you can line them up like this, or if you wanted to, use your shapes, right? We could circle those. Make sure if you're using shapes that you're including that sign in front of it. Okay, so whichever way works best for you. If you want to go across or if you want to write them vertically. either way, how many A's do we end up with? If I have 8 apples and I take 2 away because I was hungry, how many apples do I have now? I have 6 apples. Just don't forget your letter, right? And if I have 11 bananas and I'm making banana bread and I need 4 more bananas, how many bananas do I have? I have 15, and it's a positive 15, so make sure you put that positive there. And then 3 plus 16 is a positive 19. Make sure you have that symbol. And again, now all of my letters are different. I'm finished. So on this one, I want you to first notice there's a plus sign in between. So we don't really have to do that distributing, because multiplying by a positive 1 is not going to change anything. I also want you to notice, though, especially if you're doing, whether you're lining it up or you're doing shapes, the second one is not in the same order as the first. So when I come over here, if I'm circling my 3a to the third b, that's all one piece, that's all one term, it's going to go with the negative 8, a to the third b. And that one happens to be second, so just be careful because they're not always going to be in the same order. And then I can box my 9ab and my 7ab. And I know this is a positive 7 even though there's not a sign there. And I can underline my negative 4b and my positive 13b. So if you want to do shapes, just make sure they're not lined up. Also, if you're going to line them up like this, and again, you do whichever makes you happy, just make sure when you line them up that you're looking to make sure they match, okay? And sometimes when you line them up, like if you tried to put this 7ab with the 3a cubed b, you're like, oh, that doesn't go together, okay? So whichever way works best for you, okay? So now that we've lined them up or matched them with shapes, however you prefer, let's put them together. So if I have 3 minus 8. 3 minus 8. I have $3, but I want to buy something that's $8. Do I have enough money? No. So what do I have? How much more do I need? 5. And because I don't have enough, minus 5. And then we have a to the third b. We're just going to write those variables. We'll just bring them down. And 9ab and 7ab. 9 plus 7 is 16, and it's a positive 16. So positive 16ab and a negative 4b and 13b. And if you don't like it in that order, you can just think 13 minus 4, right? 13 minus 4 is 9. And we have, and it's a positive because we have more positives. So if I had 13 bananas and I used 4 of them, right? So I have 9 bananas left. And now, again, they're all different, so we're finished. What do we notice about this one? It's got a negative, yes. So we're gonna have to do that multiplying. And guys, you're gonna see me draw this rainbow. That's because when we distribute, sometimes we remember to multiply the first number and we forget about the rest of them, right? So if drawing the rainbow is a strategy that helps you, by all means do that. So we have a negative 1 times a negative 5. A negative times a negative is a positive. It gets a little confusing. You want to add, or you're like, am I adding, subtracting, am I multiplying? And then again, a negative 1 times a negative 9 is a positive 9. So now, always we're distributing first, if we need to, and then collecting like terms. So now we can collect like terms. Our parentheses is gone, right? So what can we put together? And again, you can, whichever you prefer, if you want to use shapes, if you want to write things up and down. Either way, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever works best for you, just make sure you can pick a strategy. So what's 2 xy's and 5 xy's? 2 and 5 is 7 xy's and 8 y's and 9 y's. So xy and just y is different, right? They don't match. So 8 and 9 is a positive 17y. So we're finished. A number in front of a parentheses must be distributed or multiplied before like terms can be combined or collected or add, subtract. Okay? Always, always, always. That's why on the poster in the classroom right there, first we distribute, second we collect like terms. So what happens when you multiply a negative by a negative? What happened when we did that? Yeah, negative times a negative equals a positive. So now here's another question. What happens when we multiply a variable times another variable? So if I have 1x times 1x, right? If I just write x, we know there's a 1 in front of it, right? So really what this is saying is 1 times 1 and x times x. Well, what's 1 times 1? 1. How many x's are there? How many x's do you see right here? 2. X, and so that means we're going to make that be an exponent, x squared. Anything times itself is squared. Okay, so if you multiply a variable times itself, it's going to become squared, little exponent. So let's actually look at number 6, and then we'll go back to number 5, because number 6 is what we just looked at, okay? So on number 6, again, remember we distribute first. So am I doing anything with this negative 2 at the beginning? Am I going to distribute this negative 2, or am I distributing the positive 2x? Okay, so this is where it gets tricky. You're only going to distribute what is directly in front of that parentheses. So right now, this negative 2, we're not even worried about it. I'm just going to rewrite it. We'll come back to it. Does that make sense? You're distributing only what is right in front of the parentheses. So if I say 2x, I can put a 1 in front of this x. 2x times 1x. They're both positive, so I don't need to worry about that. I'll just put my plus. 2 times 1 is 2. And then what did we say about x times x? It's going to have the exponent of a little 2, right? Because we have 2 x's there. Does that make sense? And then now be careful with your signs here. Positive 2x times a negative 5. Positive times a negative is a negative 10x. Don't forget that letter, right? That one doesn't have a letter for us to put an exponent with. And what are we going to do with that negative 3y? Are we going to do anything with it? We're just going to bring it down. It is not in the parentheses, so we are not distributing to it. So now, can I collect like terms? Do I have anything that matches? I do not. These are all different. I have my 2x squared minus 10x minus 3y minus 2. If we're going to write it in order by exponent, or if you leave it like this, that's fine too, because nothing matches, so we're done. So the negative 6 is in front of the parentheses, so that's going to multiply to the negative 6v and the positive 2w. And again, if drawing those lines helps you do that, then that's fine. A negative times a negative is a positive. And you can put that plus if you really want to. It's not required. Positive 18, and we're going to put that letter. This one is not a variable times a variable. And then we have the negative 6 times a positive 2 is a negative 12 with the w. That 7 is not in the parentheses, so we're just going to bring it down, and none of them match, so we're finished. All right, what do you know about perimeter? It says find the perimeter of the rectangle. What does perimeter mean? We're going to add up all the sides. So you can do this a couple of ways. So we know that it's a rectangle, so this is also 3x plus 6y. And we know that up here is negative 2x minus 4y. We know that. So we can do one of two things here. We can say that we have two of those. We can say we have two sets of 3x plus 6y. And we're going to add it to two sets of negative 2x minus 4y. You could do that. Or, that's not really my favorite way because I'm very visual and I can see that I have 3x plus 6y, 3x plus 6y, minus 2x minus 4y, minus 2x minus 4y. So you could do this either way, right? So this one, they're all nice and vertical. This one, we would have to distribute twice and then collect like terms. So you could actually do this either way. You're going to get the same answer. Okay? So when we look at this, if we're distributing, 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times 6y is 12y. 2 times a negative 2x is a negative 4x. 2 times a negative 4y is a negative 8y. And then we can get 2x minus 4y. So you can do this way. Or if you're going to just line them all up, 3 and 3 is 6, minus 2 is 4, minus 2 is 2x, and 6 and 6 is 12, minus 4 is 8, minus 4 is, oh sorry, this should have been positive 4. So you get the same answer either way, okay?